Hello guys, I'm Historic Handy and today we are gonna be starting the history of the Great Roman Empire, and it all starts from the Great Three Punic Wars. The Three Punic Wars. The First Punic War will be in this video and one more. The Second Punic War will be divided into two parts and it is pretty long and has a lot of battles and great moments. So it will be huge. And the Third Punic War is pretty short, so maybe later on in one video only. So what were the Punic Wars? So the Punic Wars were a series of wars taking place between 264 and 146 BC that were fought between the Roman Republic and ancient Carthage. The wars were mainly over the control of the Mediterranean. It shaped Western history, and had it gone different, a lot would have changed. So you probably know why it would have changed. If Carthage won, Rome would not be a thing or maybe just a city-state for way too long. It could not make an empire of its own, and no Roman laws, currency, like etc. will be written or formalized in our current world. Also, you may be thinking why the name is the Punic Wars, not like the Carthage Roman War or the Roman invasion of Sicily or something. It is Punic because as the people who lived in Carthage were called Phoenician, but in Roman accent it was more like Ponician with the po, not the fo. So when used to describe someone who belongs to Phoenicia, it was called Ponic, and then it was changed to Punic because of like revolutions in English or something like that. I don't know. First Punic War. The First Punic War started in 264 BC over the island of Sicily. It would be a very bloody one, just like the Second Punic War. It would start with a group of Italian mercenaries called Mamertines. They initially helped the Carthaginians against Syracuse. After the death of the tyrant of Sicily, Agathocles, the Mamertines had no income, so they took Messina and controlled it for 2 decades. So these Mamertines were mercenaries that fought for the previous tyrant, but after he died, they had no source of income. They wanted to take control of the small coastal city of Messina, and so they did. But in the process, they enslaved the population, forced the local women to become their wives, and plundered the town. But Hero the Second of Syracuse defeated them, and they went to Carthage for help. The Carthaginians helped them, but they were becoming more and more scary for the newly found strong Mamertines. So they turned to Rome. Both Carthage and Syracuse were not happy. So guess what? A big war was gonna start. Roman arrival and neutralization of Syracuse, or consolidation of power in the region from 264 BC to 262 BC. So, overview of what they wanted to do in Sicily. The first part was Messina. As Messina was attacked from Syracuse and Carthage, the Romans arrived just on time to rescue the Mamertines and drove the enemy out. This is where all of their armies were stored, but they had a lot of supply problems. At the Carthage had a very strong navy, so they could basically stop any food or resources from reaching to the other side of the channel. Roman Sicily. Syracuse and various Carthaginians were forced to surrender to the Romans and ally to them, as the Roman army on land was easily capable of defeating anyone. This meant that the local situation would be very good for the Romans, as they could get supplies from Syracuse and all the bordering part of Sicily. The Carthaginian seas and naval power. The Romans with their non-existent navy, had no chance of defeating a massive Carthage fleet, but the Romans were able to keep troops in good shape because of alliances with the locals and resources that were coming from Syracuse. Agrigentum. Agrigentum was a city protected by natural barriers. It was a plateau surrounded by slopes on all sides except the western. It was protected by the Dragos River to the west and the Acragos River to the east. So there was no choice to attack them but from the west. It also acted as a staging ground for larger scale operations and attacks on the Roman cities and regions. It acted as a main route to cities to the north and east as well. So the Romans could not lose such a massive city, so they attacked the city. The Romans, the Roman generals were namely Megallus, Lucius Postumius, and Quintus Mamilius Vistulus, while Carthage had Hannibal and later on Hanno for the relief force. Roman strategy and Hannibal's skirmish. At Agrigentum, the Romans besieged the city to conquer it, but Hannibal holds it way harder than the Romans expected. Hannibal Bisco finally skirmishes and attacks the Romans when they are harvesting crops and foraging for supplies. For supplies. The Romans were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and outmatched. Flee the area and settle in forts. The Romans were fierce and they defeated Hannibal somewhat, and Hannibal was reluctant to lose any more men. So the story behind it goes like a portion of the Roman army was sent to forage supplies. The supplies from Syracuse were just not enough. I mean, how would they? If you stack four legions on one city, Hannibal launches an attack on these foragers and routed them, but after a run for the money for Hannibal, he was pushed back to the main city itself. He was reluctant to lose any more men now, so he did not perform any more military action for an, a lot of time. After this, Rome knew that the best way to defeat Hannibal and starve his population to death would be blockading it from all sides. Since it was landlocked, there was no tension of the Carthaginian navy. There were two trenches. One was to protect the Romans from sneak attacks and skirmishes by Hannibal, while the other was to blockade Hannibal from any other external supply lines. Uh, they divided their army into two groups, one on the Asclepios temple and one in the west. With this, a stalemate ensued for 5 months, almost ending all supplies for both armies. The relief forces and battle. After Hannibal knew the battle would be huge, he asked for relief forces. Those sources vary on what amount of relief forces were sent. Hanno, the son of Hannibal, was sent for the force. Some say that the Carthaginians sent over 50,000 infantry and almost 60 war elephants. Hanno used the resources and power of the relief forces to advance and concentrate at Heraclea. He also managed to capture a supply base at Herbesos, cutting off Roman supplies, crippling the army. He also cut Roman supplies and routes at various other points. The Romans were on the verge of defeat when the consul sent an offer of battle, but Hanno refused as he knew that he would suffer less casualties if he let the Romans simply starve to death. Polybius states that the Romans found themselves in the situation of the besieged, meaning they did not have any food, resources, newly found supplies, and all supplies from the Syracuse were stopped as well. For 2 more months, nothing happened. Hannibal was forced to settle for a pitched battle as both armies were starving and maybe the population of Agrigentum would die from hunger as well. battle. The two armies settled around the town for 2 more months, but were forced to combat in fear of losing morale and resources to a further limit. Finally, the Romans were able to win after enslaving and defeating most of the Carthaginians. However, it would not be so easy if the Roman army did not find out that Hanno and Hannibal were going to attack together, so they were ready to attack from the both front and rear. But the council did not get any triumph, as one-third of their men were lost, and both Hannibal and Hanno managed to escape Sicily, from the island of Sicily. But now the Romans had a high ground to stage hundreds of attacks to central Sicily. Casualties. Both casualties were very high. The Romans lost over 3,400 men, while Carthage only lost 7,200 men, but 25,000 of its population was enslaved. The Roman Navy. The Romans never had a world-class navy that could challenge any Carthaginian fleet, but they knew the importance that it would play in the war. It is even said that the Romans could not build even their own ship at first. First of all, they could not challenge the Carthaginian navy as they only had coastal guards and small-sized boats. To build the ships that were on like the Carthaginian level, they took a Carthaginian ship that washed ashore and made exact boats and ships on its basis. They built almost 200 ships that would then challenge the Carthaginian navy at sea. More about the First Punic War later in the series.